In this video, we're going to discuss stockouts and the stockout tool. To find your stockout tool, you're going to go to the forecast page, and then you're going to click around this area to open up your forecast settings. By default, you will see that the stockout tool is actually turned on. I've turned it off temporarily to show you how it works. If you want to turn it on or off, you can just toggle this switch on or off, and then you can click here to save to all products, filtered by supplier, by brand, by marketplace, or by tag, or to this product only. So for now, I've turned it off to demonstrate how the stockout tool works. With the stockout tool off, what we're looking at here is our adjusted velocity that we've covered in a previous video. So I'm not going to dive too deep in how adjusted velocity is calculated. But I want to demonstrate like the last 7 days. If we hover over this period here, we can see that the last 7 days at the time of this filming is 27 February through 5 March. Now, if I go here to my orders page, which looks like this, and then I click on customer orders and I search for this one product, and then I filter it for that date range, 28 February to March 5th, you will see that we've sold 19 units of this product. And if we do quick math, we'll see that 19 units divided by 7 days equals 2.71 units per day. And that's what is being displayed here. And the same would go if I filtered it for the last 15 days or 30 days, etc., etc. This is my true adjusted velocity with nothing else influencing that adjusted velocity. I'm not filtering out stockouts. I'm not turning on any growth or trends or filtering out sales spikes or deep discounts or anything like that. This is just pure velocity from Amazon. Now let's look what happens when I turn the stockout tool on. So I'm going to, again, stockout tool is turned on by default on all products. Now, every single one of these days is a day when my inventory hit 0, and it also was below 30% of my adjusted daily average. So what does that mean? Obviously, we know that a stockout means that you stocked out. That means your inventory ran out to 0. So that's this first option here. But this one is important because it's possible to have what's called a partial stockout. The example that I always give is, let's say your product normally sells 10 units a day, to keep the math simple. On Monday, about halfway through the day, you sell 2 or 3 units, but then your inventory hits 0 and you make no other sales for the rest of that day. If you were to go into Amazon Seller Central and download your inventory ledger report, that report would show you that your warehouse balance, your fulfillment center warehouse balance at the end of the day is 0. So that would be considered a stockout. But Amazon doesn't consider it a stockout if you actually made sales during that day. You have to actually hit 0 sales and 0 inventory for Amazon to consider it a stockout. Because in Amazon's algorithm, if you made a sale during that day, that's not a stockout day because clearly you were in stock for part of the day, so we're going to count it as a sales day. However, I don't want this one little puny sales day to pull down my average adjusted velocity because I know my product is actually capable of doing an average of 10 units per day if I didn't include those partial stockout days. So this one here helps you to determine and to filter out any partial stockout days. So if I turn this on, and we'll go over advanced settings here in a second, but if I turn this on and save that, again, I can save this to any grouping of products, you're going to see that my adjusted velocity is way different now because I've had a bunch of stockouts during these periods of time. So now my adjusted velocity went from like 2 or 3 up to almost 7. The purpose of the stockout tool is to help you make more sales consistently by telling the system, send enough inventory into their Amazon Seller Central, or FBA, so that if they don't make stockouts, this is what they're capable of selling. All right, let's look at a couple of advanced options, and we're not going to get too deep into this, but you do have a couple of options here. If you open up your stockout tool, you will see that this is a toggle switch. What is the purpose of this toggle switch? Well, as we've already discussed, in order to call it a stockout day, it has to hit 0. However, in some cases, sellers want to consider it a stockout if it merely goes below a certain percentage of their total sales, or their average sales. An example of that would be something like your listing got suspended. Now, technically, you're still in stock during that period of time. Amazon considers those in-stock days that you're making 0 sales. But you go, you know what, I had this big chunk of time when, I got hit with an image violation or something else happened and my inventory was still there at Amazon, but I wasn't making any sales. So I want to consider this a stock out if I sell below 30%, whether it's zero inventory or not. So if I check that box, I'm going to have more stock out days, and that's going to inflate my velocity even further. So that's an option, but by default, it has to hit 0. The other option here is you can actually go ahead and change this percentage. So let's say if it goes below 50%, so in my 10 units per day example, if I sold 5 units or 4 units, that would still be considered a stock out if I hit 0, as opposed to if I sold 1 or 2 or 3, which is 30% or less of my average. So those are the two options that you have here. Turn it on, turn it off. Like I said, by default, it's going to be turned on. So all of your forecasts, your adjusted velocity is going to be factoring out stockouts.